all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey there, my Crimsonites. How we doing today? Hopefully we are doing well. Hopefully you all are doing well. I wanted to, the video that I'm going to share and use as a jumping point to talk today is relatively short. It's a pretty short clip. If I ever find where the clip actually came from, I'll see if I can hunt it down. There may be more gems into it or more things that we can unpack from it, but it's a relatively short clip. And the reason that it's an old clip, it's a clip from like the 60s or 70s. And the reason that I want to talk about this old clip is because as I come across older pieces of media from that time frame, 60s and 70s, as it regards to Black women and feminism, and as I run across these clips of real Black women, traditional Black women, lioness Black women giving pushback at the time that feminism and feminist women were given the microphone. And to see in real time that traditional women was like, no, we not rocking with that. We're not rocking with this perspective that you have because it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't call into understanding the full context of men and women, particularly Black men and women in this country. Because as I've stated before, feminism in this country, as it pertains to Black people, it came at a time where we were also fighting for civil rights. We were also, so it wasn't just feminism. Feminism was a new concept that insidiously creeped its way in while Black people were more or less preoccupied with open-faced racism, discrimination, and other forms of oppression that we were experiencing at that time openly and actively. And then we have to realize who had the microphone. Quite literally, who had the microphone. So I'm going to play the clip straightforward because it's short. But then we're going to break down each point that was made.
It says that matriarchy is inferior to patriarchy, which is a whole thing right there. You see that patriarchy is a sort of natural or divine order of things, which is not so. Two, that black men have believed and internalized the myth of white womanhood and Anglo-Saxon impositions, so that they place us in relation to where white women are.
Two things a woman, I believe, being a black woman and a very proud black woman, can do for a man: make him or break him. And then you take into consideration how the black man has been berated by the white man. His woman, you know, adequately couldn't have the luxuries of another woman born the same just like her. This man has to, you know, black men have stood by for a very, very long time and been humiliated by the, you know, the system. He can't get the job that this fella can get. And you must understand that his wife might have to go on welfare. He has to stand in the humility of that. He has to watch the plumber duck if the welfare worker come in there. Mm-hmm. You understand me? He has always been like made to feel he's below the next man. So you must, all this you must come, you know, take into consideration. You know, now black men are learning, you know, that they're part. They're beginning to feel like a man. They're getting their dignity and their pride back. So he needs a woman to keep on pushing it. Vice versa, you know. When you say about, you know, in the system, this system has destroyed, actually, the black man. You know, because everything that we've ever done, there's no part of this country that you can say, if you touch that a black man didn't bring it in here. You know, everything that they built, they've never been able to share with it. I don't even want to hear that. You know, what society have done just took our black men and destroyed their manhood. That's what they've done. Aid and abetted.
I'm certainly not in disagreement. I'm in 200% agreement.
We understand that what the brothers are going through now, as you say, the cultural national. But mightn't it all be very revolutionary, and you might be the better woman for understanding that they, at this point, they need you to walk a few feet behind and get their manhood together. So if it takes that, then I'm going to do whatever the brothers need now. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on slavery and talk about wiping out and ripping off a people.
How revolutionary is it if one half of us is in condescension and a kind of almost fear, saying, walking 10 paces behind you, saying that in order for me to, quote, regain my manhood, I have to deny you your peoplehood.
We just have to do whatever we need to do to help
that
these
says
black
to me
men
that you
get
really, number one,
There's no way you can capture all of that in one listen, because the clip is short, but it is highly impactful and it says a lot. There was a lot said and a lot of subtext also in that very short part of the exchange that we saw. Mind you, the feminist has the literal microphone. It's her show. It's her panel. She's running the panel. The lionesses are not running the panel. The opportunity to speak and to run a panel and to have control over the platform and over the microphone was given to who? Who has the literal microphone? Not the traditional women. And then you have the feminists. I want y'all to look at this woman. Take a look at this woman.
It says that matriarchy.
Now, I don't know if I'm tweaking or not, but this is what you have to understand. That first of all, your visual representation says a lot about what you are thinking, especially in this time. Especially in this time. This woman has on what appears to be a wig, or her hair has been straightened. Either way. It's in black and white, but I know she had some type of little makeup on. And am I tweaking, or do she got lashes on? Because I didn't think that there was a such thing as lashes in 1970. Hold on. Hold on. Wow. Okay. It's saying that at that time, that fake lashes were not a major trend among women. That by the 70s, there was a more of a shift towards natural beauty. So they had them. That's what I'm seeing. It was more popular with white women, which adds a layer to what I'm saying. Which adds a very important layer to what I'm saying. Fake lashes, and now that I think about it, yeah, Twiggy D, it was a lot of white women that used to wear false lashes, probably because of monetary reasons. So here you have this woman right here in a straight wig, what appears to be lashes. She likely has on some type of makeup. It's in black and white, so we can't see it. Okay. And she's still dressed modestly for this time, but in her time, I wouldn't say she walking the edge, but you would be able to identify her as sort of a modern woman of her time. Okay. So just the visual alone. Now we're going to play what she is saying.
Is inferior to patriarchy, which is a whole thing right there. You see that patriarchy is a sort of natural or divine order of things, which is not so.
She's saying that the traditional women and women like those traditional women believe that patriarchy is over and above matriarchy because they think that it is some kind of that's the natural order, or that it is divine, and that is not so. She literally said that's not so. That the natural order of things is not male authority in general. And a little bit more specifically, that a patriarchal order is not natural, nor is it divine. So already we have a dismissal of what? The order of the Most High. That they started there. That the Most High's order and quote unquote how we interpret that is faulty and false. It's flawed. That's not really real. Now, she doesn't give any basis for that. She just says it. I need y'all to draw the parallel. She doesn't give a basis. She just says it. Okay? Let her continue.
2, that black men have believed and internalized the myth of white womanhood and Anglo-Saxon impositions, so that they place us in relation to where white women are.
2 things.
Now, to make sense of what she just said, to sort of break down what she just said, she's saying that black men have been brainwashed due to being underneath white supremacy, slavery, Jim Crow, and being denied the very right to be a human being and a man in this country. She's saying that black men have been brainwashed to see black women the way white men see white women. The myth of white womanhood. What is the myth of white womanhood? The myth of white womanhood is that she has like a shared power with white men. That's just a part of it. She has like a shared power with white men. But also in the context of where white women fall in the patriarchy of white men, they fall very low. Like white women are historically not seen really as human beings by white men. So white men have a tendency to subjugate white women and oppress them in various ways. Now, mind you, this is not all the way false. White men historically do not like women. Historically, culturally, white men have not liked women. They don't like women. They see the usage in women, which is why they don't abandon them, but they don't like them. And historically, at any time that they could have subjugated women, they did. So when we hear tales about societies where the women did not have any voice, any right, they were complete property, they were completely subdued, they had zero regard as a human being, they literally was like if you owned an inanimate object, that is white history. Okay? Pick your European country. That is largely white history. That is not largely melanated history. So white women's subjugation underneath white men is a completely different animal than the masculine authority of black men over black women due to biology and due to divine design and construction. Do we understand that? So she's trying to say that black men have been brainwashed, they have been underneath white men so long that they now want Black women to be positioned underneath them and in an oppressive manner, the same way white men are able to do to white women. And so she's basically saying that this is why feminism is necessary in order to prevent Black men from getting it in their heads that they can be white men and subjugate us the way white men subjugate white women. That they see these white women and they don't really have a voice. They don't really have a place except underneath the boot heel of a white man, which is, according to the white man, where she belongs. She doesn't need to be anywhere else. So feminism is a lot of fear mongering. This is what you're hearing. The fear mongering that if Black men gain some type of mobility, dignity, ability in this country, that they would not only fight against white men and basically sort of retaliate to white society for the wrongs that have been done to them, but then they would also turn around and attempt to replace the white man in turn, not only in power of society, but also to put Black women in the same place that white men have put white women, essentially to become white men. So that's what she's saying. She's saying Black men brainwashed by white supremacy and the way white men do things. And that puts Black women in danger because we don't want to be subjugated like white men have done white women. Yet, Black women had to join white women in the feminist movement, although they tried to call themselves differentiating from white feminism because of racism and having their own feminism, which included things like intersectionality. They was doing this in the 70s. They were saying this. The feminist praise I'm gonna show y'all something. I'm gonna show you who feminists praise. I'm gonna show you their goddess. Feminists praise this woman here. And how they speak about her. Feminists praise this woman here. Bell Hooks. This is Bell Hooks. Okay. In 92, a Black author publicly called Spike Lee's Malcolm X a, quote, neo-minstrel spectacle. Hollywood tried to silence her, but this janitor's daughter from segregated Kentucky rewrote feminism at 19. This is the story of Bell Hooks and her fight against white feminism. Okay? This is their goddess right here. Hear how they talk about this woman. Gloria Jean Watkins, aka Bell Hooks, was born in 1952 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Segregated small, her dad mopped floors, her mother cleaned white folks' houses. 6 kids, no money, but books. Books were everywhere. Young Gloria devoured poetry, Langston Hughes, Gwendolyn Brooks, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. She'd stay up reading while her siblings slept. By 10, she was in high school, math, English, everything came easy. Then they integrated the school. Suddenly, Gloria wasn't the star anymore. White teachers ignored her. White students pretended she didn't exist. It broke something in her and lit a fire that never went out. At 19, still an undergrad at Stanford, she started writing a manifesto about how white feminism was leaving Black women behind. When I tell you that I know what I know what I'm talking about. No platform, no publisher, no connections, just pure, unfiltered rage. Why would you be mad? She called it Ain't I a Woman? The title borrowed from Sojourner Truth. I told you that Sojourner Truth was also a feminist, first wave. The message was simple. White women were building feminism on Black women's backs, then pretending they didn't exist, but no one wanted to publish it. For 10 years, she shopped the manuscript around. Publishers said it was too angry, too radical, not what feminism needs right now. Now, why wouldn't feminism need that? The reason that they told her that feminism did not need the angry Black woman touch is because they were still using it to infiltrate not only white families, but Black families also. It needs to come across as harmless almost, a plea for humanity. It needs to come across as simply a petition for rights and to be seen and to be heard as women. It absolutely was not that. So any kind of diatribe that came across too radical and too crazy would be rejected immediately out of hand and would also further cast a negative light, more so than it had been, on feminism in the minds of women and also many men as well. But it hadn't caught the men yet. See, it was still going. They hadn't perfected the propaganda yet. So we can't have you mixing it up, saying foolishness. You can't say that. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant, because feminism always ignores what's true for the feeling and the optics of it all. I want y'all to understand, if you don't come away with nothing else today, is that feminism has not changed since its inception. Okay? I'm going to finish reading this. I'm going to go back to the video. Finally, in 1981, South End Press said, yes, Gloria was 29 now. She waited a decade, but she didn't publish under her legal name. She chose Bell Hooks, all lowercase, after her great-grandmother. Why lowercase? She wanted the readers to focus on ideas, not personality, no ego, no brand, just truth, quote unquote. In a world where men stamped their names in all caps, she erased hers on purpose. The book exploded. Publishers Week, the shot to men is insane. Publishers Weekly named it one of the 20 most influential women's books of the century, which would be unfortunately true. Bell Hooks wasn't just writing about feminism anymore. She was rewriting it from the margins. She kept going, book after book, teaching to transgress feminist theory, all about love. I highly doubt that. Nearly where are we? Nearly 40 books total, each one sharper than the last. She taught at Yale, Stanford, City College of New York, and she never stopped calling out the BS. Does this ring a bell? What are all of these institutions? This second level education, secondary education in colleges and universities. Where do modern feminists get their feminist propaganda? Where are they so proud to be all the time? Where are they so proud to be all the time?
Since you got your degree and you know every fucking thing.
White feminists who ignored race called out. Black men who ignored sexism called out. Hollywood making black pain into entertainment. She came for them the hardest. In 92, Spike Lee released Malcolm X. Critics loved it. Black audiences lined up. Bell Hooks saw something else. She called it a neo-minstrel spectacle. Said Lee made it for white comfort, not black truth. Like, where would you get that from? Why would you even say that? What trips me out about takes like that is that why we can't make like a biographical, even if there was drama parts to it, but it was based on Malcolm X's life. It was based on his story. Much of that came from his autobiography that he wrote. Of course, it was some dramatic scenes in there that may or may not have taken place exactly like that and things of that nature because of the entertainment factor of the movie. It never claimed to be a documentary of Malcolm X's life. So we took it as such. Why we are not able to celebrate the men and women who we deem as legends, who we deem as people who quite literally gave their lives for the cause of Black people. Whether you agreed with it or not, they did. She wrote that the film does not compel viewers to confront, challenge, or change. But why would it have needed to do that? Why would it have needed to do that? Why would Spike Lee's work have to do that? Who told her that was his intent? And if you feel so strongly about it, you make one. It rewards passive watching, made Malcolm less militant, more palatable, more safe, more digestible for white audiences. She didn't stop there. She said Lee wrote Black women the same way white directors wrote white women. Did I not just say what that lady just said? That in feminism, Black men have been brainwashed by white men to conduct themselves and their relationships with Black women the same way that white men conduct themselves with white women in their interpersonal interactions. The film world didn't forgive her for it, but Bell Hooks didn't care who she upset. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. She said Lee wrote Black women the same way white directors wrote white women, as objects, props, as accessories to men's stories. Boo-hoo if you are not the star of Malcolm X's story. Malcolm X is the star of Malcolm X's story. Both the Hollywood version and his actual life that he lived. He was the main character. Betty Shabazz, for instance, was portrayed as a support system for her husband, as she should have been and likely as she was. She concerned herself with being his wife. She concerned herself with being the mother of his children. And she also concerned herself with supporting him in his mission as well. Even if you want to dramatize it for movie purposes, she was also depicted as having a lot of concern for his life and for the people around him that didn't mean him very well. So she was depicted as using her feminine insight to help her husband. You can't see them because you're too close to them. I'm like adjacent to it. So I see them quite clearly. These are a lot of snakes around you, a lot of snakes. And I'm your wife and I love you. And I'm telling you, listen, might not want to put all your eggs in certain baskets. Even like I said, even if you want to say this was just drama for the movie, I'm sure that the dialogue and stuff like that, nobody, but again, as I said, Spike Lee didn't say he made a documentary of Malcolm X's life. It was a dramatic retelling using, for the majority, Malcolm X's autobiography as source material. She went after Paris is Burning for turning black and brown pain into a spectacle for white viewers. Nobody was too holy for her pen. In 2004, she went back to Kentucky, not to retire, to build. She founded the Bell Hooks Institute at Berea College, a space for black, brown, queer, and Appalachian students to find their own voices. Notice the always the inclusion of the rainbow community. She could have stayed at Yale, at Stanford, collected her checks and prestige. Instead, she went home. They're trying to make her such a martyr here. Oh, she could have, been full of herself. She was full of herself. To the segregated town that shaped her to give back every single thing the world had tried to deny her. Nobody denied her anything. Then came 2020, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. The world erupted, and suddenly everyone was reading Bell Hooks again. All About Love hit the New York Times bestseller list 21 years after publication. She'd written the blueprint for understanding race, gender, and capitalism decades earlier. The world just wasn't ready. It took an uprising for people to catch up to what she'd been saying since she was 19. On December 15, 2021, Bell Hooks passed at home in Berea, Kentucky. Kidney failure. She was 69. The working class girl who started writing revolutions at 19 had finally put down her pen. She never won a Nobel, never got a Pulitzer, but nearly 40 books later, her worth is taught in every her words are taught in every university on earth, which is the problem. She didn't want fame, she wanted change, which was the problem. And she got it. Bell Hooks once said, the most powerful weapon we have against racism and sexism is love. A janitor's daughter from segregated Kentucky taught the whole world that. She did it all in lowercase. But let me ask y'all a question. Matter of fact, we're going to make it a poll. We're going to make it a poll. Let me see. Sometimes it takes forever for YouTube to pop up the like the chat bubble. Still ain't popped up the chat bubble, so I can make a I don't know what YouTube has done to its back end. But while we're doing that, while we're waiting on the chat bubble, we're going to go to a quick commercial break and we'll be back because we still have to finish the video. So after these messages, we'll be right back. I need everybody to go to ashkicking.com. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. All right. You want to keep your skin looking and feeling its absolute best, especially as the year has begun and kicked off. You need this body butter on the screen right here. Also, you need to take advantage of the 10% discount using the promo code Crimson at checkout. Once again, link is pinned to the top of the chat, ashkicking.com. I owe you guys a bam, 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 bam. You got to hit the like button, bam, bam. You got to, go ahead and hit the like button. Let me get to the super chats. Thank you, DDEC. So, hey, sis, the eyelashes go back to burlesque dances of the 20s. Look at Betty Boop. Thank you, sis. Said Mr. Cartwright believes that subjugation makes up for his mediocrity. Exactly. Thank you, Bernard. Said outstanding history lesson today. Crimson, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, EC. Said don't forget the Marcel waves, aka finger waves. Betty Davis and Josephine Baker. Thank you so much for the super chats and for the contributions. I appreciate all of the contributions as well as the cash apps that come my way. So thank you so very much. We're going to finally, and still ain't really popped up the chat bubble. It's like all that time, YouTube. I'll put a poll up. Is feminism loving or divisive? Is feminism something that when you hear about it, when you see it in action, when you see the results, is it something that perpetuates love, care, affection, concern, or any of those attributes? Or do you get a sense of divisiveness, of competition, of us versus them? How much, if feminism was loving, Black men and Black women would not be suffering in 2026 with the divide, the mistrust. The mistrust is big. Feminism has bred mistrust between everyone. The men and the women don't trust each other due to that mindset. And many times the men don't trust each other once they realize you're a feminist too. You have certain types of mindsets. Let's go back to the video. Okay. Because they end up cutting her off to start talking. So she's got her diatribe out here, and here we go. The woman is speaking. She said there's two things.
Woman, I believe being a black woman, and a very proud black woman, can do for a man, make him or break him. And then you take into consideration how the black man has been berated.
Before I let the good sis continue, she said something very simple, but also very true. Two things that a woman do to a man: make him or break him. Without the fancy words, without the other terminology that we now have in order to articulate certain thought patterns, the sister said it very simple. The deeper understanding, if you understood what she said, the deeper understanding is we are women. And men are strong, but women are powerful. Very different. Men are strong. No doubt about that. But women are powerful. We wield a power that many women don't understand, let alone men. So the good sis said something that would have went over any feminist head, past or present. That we can make a man or break a man, i.e., my feminine characteristics that come naturally to me can either be utilized for the good of all of us, or it could be used to the detriment of all of us. I'm going to repeat something I said before. This is what makes good women good women. This is why we're good. We're not good women because we don't have an opportunity to be bad. We have every opportunity to screw over everybody, just like the hyenas. Good women have the same tools. We have the same power, both internally and externally. We have the same access to societal weapons, child supports, running a man through court, dragging him through this and that, lying on him, send him to jail. We have access. Lioness have 100% access to every last weapon that we could use against a man and the family. And we choose actively not to do it. That's what makes good people good. Good people are good not because they don't have the opportunity to do bad, and like if they could do bad, they would do bad. No. Good people are good because they choose good even when the opportunity to do evil is presented to them and available to them.
by the white man. His woman, adequately couldn't have the luxuries of another woman born the same just like her. This man has to, black men have stood by for a very, very long time.
She said something else important. She immediately went to empathy for what black men have gone through. She immediately went there. Well, you have to take into consideration, especially in the time period that they're talking, when a black man could be lynched at any moment. Okay? She's saying, whether you got to think about where we are, who we've been in this country, particularly the men, how would they have been able to provide what we would assume as women as luxuries or the high life or things of that nature? When would black men have gotten this opportunity? When did they get this opportunity? At what point did men get that opportunity? We still out here struggling. Your man might not come home just because he black. Jim Crow, segregation, this, that. The Ku Klux Klan was still running around. Like, so you worried about being able to have this, that, the third, but at the same time, as a collective, when would our men have gotten an opportunity to spoil us, quote unquote, as we think that they should, or as we think white men do to white women? We see the disparity of wealth in general between white people and black people. We understand that white people have more of an opportunity, this, that, and the third, at any given time than black people to do certain things. Okay, despite our intelligence, despite our know-how, despite, anything else, any other attributes that we may have, we've got this barrier in front of us, this glass ceiling in front of us. So at what point would the collective of black men have been able to afford us as black women some kind of imaginary luxury, sense of luxury? See, they was talking that soft girl stuff back then. I guess she thinking we should have been not working as hard, or not having to have laborious jobs or demeaning work. Not so much labor, but degrading work. Scrubbing a white woman's floors is not the highest level. You understand? You might feel degraded, especially if you got a a-hole that you're working for, and they're going to make sure that you feel lesser than. Okay? So the good sis is like, what are we saying?
And then you humiliated by the system. He can't get the job that this fella can get. And you must understand that his wife might have to go on welfare. He has to stay in the humility of that. He has to watch the plumber duck if the welfare worker come in there. Mm-hmm. You understand me? He has always been made to feel he's below.
She said something else that you have to catch. He might have to accept his woman being on welfare and then having to duck when the welfare person come in there. For all of those who sit around and talk about that, on the books, it didn't say that you had to give up your man in order to be on welfare. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Whether the man actually left you physically or not, he better not be in that house when that social worker get over there. That's all we know. And his shoes better not be there either. So what she's indicating is that black men, by and large, did not like or relish the fact that his woman would have to engage the same system that destroys them in order to be able to eat at those times where work and things like that were not available to him, or they were available to him, but the pay was so crazy. It's like, what is we really doing? Or the hazard was a bit much. And so she's framing it the way that it was for a lot of black men, a humiliation. My wife, or as they called it back in the day, if you wasn't married on paper, my old lady and my kids got to sit at that welfare office to get some food stamps and maybe a little monetary help to supplement what's going on in this household from the same system that every day works to destroy us.
The next man. So you must, all this you must come, take into consideration. Now black men are learning, that they're part. They're beginning to feel like a man. They're getting their dignity and their pride back. So he needs a woman to keep on pushing it. Vice versa, when you say about, in the system, this system has destroyed actually the black man, because everything that we've ever done, there's no part of this country that you can say, if you touch that a black man didn't bring it in here.
And then she continues to talk about black men's contribution to the country in a way that they will never get credit for. The actual and literal building of the infrastructure of this very country that then they are blocked off, cut off, restricted by law and by force from participating in the and reaping the benefit of that. She said it. She said there's really nothing in this country you can touch that you can say a black man didn't bring it in here. That is directly tied to chattel slavery. The country literally was built physically, not ideologically, physically built upon the slave labor of majority black men. They only brought black women in order to procreate once the transatlantic slave trade became something illegal. So they brought women to procreate the slaves. Can't keep going back, getting them. You got to get women. So, that's how it was so many. People trying to figure out the math. That's how it was so many. Literally breeding farms. Literally, some of the plantations did not have cotton. They were literal animal husbandry breeding farms where you had buck males and black mares.
You know, everything that they built, they've never been able to share with it. I don't even want to hear that. You know, what society have done just took our black men and destroyed their manhood. That's what they've done. Aid and abetted.
I'm certainly not in disagreement. I'm in 200% agreement.
We understand.
Mind you, she's in agreement. But many black feminists are also, quote unquote, like black radical activists too. Somehow they blend those things together, and they think that makes them for black people. The power to the people hyena. The I stand on the system's neck hyena. But you will turn around and spit in the face of black men and women. I believe that they did that. I don't know that they did it as a matter of course to breed completely. I imagine they slowed that down once they realized how genetics work. Once they came to understand that inbreeding doesn't actually work, especially if you do it too much and you do it too close, you come out with something that you cannot use. So they probably had to, they probably did it more for humiliation than anything. But then once they realized how genetics actually work, they probably, because they had been doing animal husbandry for a while. So they had to go back to the understanding of animal husbandry, which is genetics. It works pretty much the same way in humans that it does in any other animal. You cannot breed them too closely, or else you come out again with something that's not usable, it's not viable for the purpose that you're getting. You want work, you want, like, you don't want disability, you know what I'm saying, mental or physical, because they have to be competent and physically capable of doing whatever work that you wanted them to do. So I would imagine that while they probably did that, I don't doubt that they did, but they probably had to stop that and not do that widespread, because genetics works. The genetics works the way that it works, and they probably for the majority likely had to do it normally for various traits, make sure they're not too closely related or not related at all. But I definitely believe that they did that. I know that they did that. I know that they did that. History says that they did it. Now watch what this sister say too.
Understand that what the brothers are going through now, as you say, the cultural national, but mightn't it all be very revolutionary, and you might be the better woman for understanding that they, at this point, they need you to walk a few feet behind and get their manhood together. So if it takes that, then I'm going to do whatever the brothers need now. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on slavery.
Now, before I let the sister finish, this is pretty much the end. Before I let the sister finish, she's kind of half joking. It's like LBVS, right? You know, haha. Okay. Hypothetically speaking, they might need us to walk a few feet behind them. She doesn't necessarily mean that literally, right? She's saying if the women need to throw their full effort in supporting what Black men need rather than trying to be in the spotlight, then that is what the women need to do. Put their energy into supporting Black men instead of trying to be the main character. Especially right now. We're on the cusp. It was very important. We're on the cusp of Black men really making strides. We trying to make them with them. Okay? We don't want to get left behind, right? So support them in doing that. And if that calls for you to not be in the spotlight, the number one thing that's in the front, then okay. What's the harm in that? That's what the sister's saying. What's the harm in that? She never once alludes that it makes her less than. Now listen to how the hyena.
And talk about wiping out and ripping off our people.
How revolutionary is it if one half of us is in condescension and a kind of almost fear saying, walking 10 paces behind you, saying that in order for me to, quote, regain my manhood,
maybe that's
I have to deny you your
right
peoplehood.
Now.
That's how the hyena interpreted that. That supporting Black men and you not being in the star main character role in order to do that somehow deprives you of your very humanity. Supporting a man deprives you of your very humanity. That's is that or is that not the crux of why marriage rates have plummeted? Is that or is that not the crux of why our relationships as Black men and women cannot get on the good foot at all? Because feminism has infected the mind of the hyena to believe wholeheartedly that her role, remember she spoke against God's order in the beginning of the clip, that her role that God gave her is inferior, number one, and is so inferior to reduce her out of her humanity completely. And this is where the conundrum begins and ends for them to fight so hard against any type of support or anything like that for men. Because if you believe that me supporting men somehow makes me not human, of course you would fight that. Any human being would fight for their humanity, even ideologically. Any human being would fight for their humanity, even from an ideological standpoint. But which group of Black men told Black women that we were not human? Which group of Black men over our history here in America which group of Black men have ever told as a collective, told Black women as a collective that they were not human beings, especially if they occupy the space that God told them to occupy. The bullet that feminism does not like, that it hates, is the understanding that women are inferior to men in many ways. Physically, that's a big one. That's the most obvious. Spiritually, all of the Anbiya alayhim assalam were men. Allah revealed his word to the men, and specific men as well. Not even all the men, specific men. The natural position of authority is for men, not women. And it is a hard pill to swallow for a woman to have to sit somewhere, especially in this day and age, to admit that she's simply not equal. And that likely the only equality that a man and a woman really could ever have is the fact that they are human beings. And that a woman's life is not necessarily less important than a man's life. And that the taking of a woman's life is not less egregious than the taking of a man's life. And they have taken that to mean that women are nothing. Because we are not men, because we do not do all the things that men do, that somehow our very essence of being women, the way that the Most High created us to be, is somehow wrong and just generally bad. Basically, the Most High made a mistake making us. We're the mistake. Men are the pinnacle of humanity, and women are like, what? It's like Dr. Frankenstein are the men and Igor is the women. Just intelligent enough to go back and forth and kind of bring Dr. Frankenstein as tools, but certainly not competent enough to take Dr. Frankenstein's place. Who is Rachel Wilson? I'm not familiar with her. Thank you, Miss Tiny Star. Said Crimson has such a stellar catalog. Black women have their own God is a perfect foundation to this video. Thank you so much for even bringing that up. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bernard. So your previous episode of Women Keeping Other Women Single was a clear example of how divisive feminism is in real time. Thank you so much. And thank you, Prophecy the Savior, for your super sticker. I appreciate you so very much. We're going to wrap this up. Rachel Wilson is a mother who published a book named Occult Feminism, The Secret History of Women's Liberation. Is that like a pro-feminist book or an anti-feminist book? Give me a little something. The white lady with the white guy that was just getting roasted about her having three baby daddies. Huh? Listen. I'm all for edification, even if it is from a source, from various sources. I'm actually not closed off to edification from different perspectives and things of that nature. I'm not. Trust me, I'm not. But I beg myself this question, and this is a question I ask myself. Do I value truly Mrs. Cartwright's take on anti-feminism or the rise of feminism? And that's not to say that there's no truth in the book. I haven't read the book. I can't say whether I agree or not because I haven't read it. So I'm not discounting it. I may or may not. Yeah, this is a careful tread. Not so much a full stop, but a yellow. It's a yellow. Has not turned red. It's a double yellow line. I don't know if we pass. Might not be able to pass. Don't know. Might have to wait until the broken lines. Not quite sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cause you still got like 2-3 baby daddies. You still. No heat, no judgment. Thank you, Quiet Face. You gifted a membership. And for those whoever received that membership.
But now you have been promoted. You are now one of my elite employees.
Okay. Yeah. It's a reason you had all in marriages. Don't make me research her. And the man you married to right now is questionable on so many levels. Why them other relationships ain't work? Let me guess, they was abusive. One was abusive, the other one was a narc. Because I just touched a little bit on her husband just because it was going viral and it was funny to me. But somebody else did a whole breakdown on them. It's like a year or two ago video resurfaced. I think it was Coach Greg. Shout out to Coach Greg. That he re-uploaded it. And now the man you got right now sits online and argues women about being baby mamas and married ones. You brought 2 kids to that man, like 2-3 kids to that man. And went through the marriages quick too. Ain't like she real old. She get a whole side eye from me, baby. Now I'm not saying nothing to the brother who suggested her that, you know, this is not aimed at you at all, beloved, because I didn't even know who you was talking about at first, sweetheart. So this is not some type of castigation of you. It's just that when I realized who we was talking about, she need to read my book. That's what she need to do. I get you. No, it's good to do that. It's actually good to do that because you need to understand what it is that you are talking against if you're talking against it. I had thought about actually getting one of Bell Hooks' books, and I know what she about. You understand what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying. Anyway, I'm about to get on up out of here, y'all. All right, jump down into, well, before you do that, don't forget to do this.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
That is just the cutest little thing. She is so cute. Anyway, jump down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your host, The Crimson Cure, and this is my perspective. All right.